You have knocked and knocked and knocked. You've tried to force the door open with discipline, with effort, with prayer, with plans, but it still will not open. And now you wonder, was I ever meant to walk through? I tell you now, yes, you were meant to walk through, but not as the man you were. The door was never the problem. The version of you standing at the door was. And until you transform that man, his thoughts, his fears, his beliefs, you will keep repeating the same season. This is not the hour to give up. This is the hour to wake up, because the shift you seek is not in your luck. It is in your identity. Everything will change the moment you do. So do not merely hear this speech. Receive it, submit to it, and act on it like your life depends on it, because it does. Part 1. The hidden law: you are being repositioned for power. If nothing is working, if every effort fails, if your will is breaking, you are not cursed. You are being called not by man, but by law, called not to quit, but to transform, called to shed the skin of what was, and rise into the man who is worthy of the blessing he once only dreamed of. But let me warn you, you may hear these words and yet remain unchanged. That is the tragedy of many, for men hear truth every day, but few listen as if their very life depended upon it, and fewer still act on what they've heard with decision, with obedience, with burning desire backed by faith. This is not another soft message to soothe your feelings. This is not a sermon to make you feel better about delay, about defeat, about drifting. This is a summons. If you receive it, not with indifference, but with conviction, everything will shift. But if you ignore it, you may remain in this dark season another year, another decade, another lifetime. The reason nothing is working is not because you are unlucky. It is not because God has abandoned you. It is not because the world is against you. The reason nothing is working is because you are being repositioned. And repositioning is not gentle. It does not ask for your permission. It tears, it removes, it rebuilds. Failure is not defeat. It is redirection by infinite intelligence. It is a spiritual signal that the structure you were building could not hold the weight of the success you asked for. It is the voice of God whispering, "This is not the way, there is more. But first you must become more." You asked for greatness, but greatness demands structure. And the first step to building the structure that can hold the blessing is the dismantling of the man who thought he was ready. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Prepared to carry what few ever possess. When nothing works, the ego is being dismantled. Your identity, your attachments, your false confidence, all are being shattered so that a deeper power may rise. This is the death of the old self, and it is painful. But it is necessary. For the man who walks in dominion must be reborn by fire. Do you believe Thomas Edison failed because he was incompetent? Do you think he stumbled 10,000 times on the path to the electric light by accident? Number. He was being shaped. Every defeat refined him. Every failure purified his desire. Every setback stripped away distraction until all that remained was certainty. And so it is with you. You are not in a season of collapse. You are in a season of refinement. You are being emptied, not to leave you hollow, but to make room. Room for clarity, room for power, room for a definite chief aim so great it could not be given to a man who still depended on comfort. Let go of the lie that this is random. Let go of the belief that life is cruel. Everything is exact. Everything is intentional. You are not where you are by accident. You are being repositioned for power, and the tools being used to reposition you are loss, silence, confusion, delay, and fire. You do not need to understand the test. You need to pass the test, and every test begins with the stripping of false identity. The man who fails in business, the man who loses the deal, the man who is rejected, is the man who has now been qualified to build again with spiritual intelligence. Infinite intelligence never allows a man to succeed in a form that would corrupt him. If success came too soon, it would feed your ego, not your character. It would make you proud, not purposeful. It would anchor you in comfort, not principle. And so it was withheld, not to destroy you, but to train you. You are being forced to see that your power does not lie in your possessions, not in applause, not in title. Your power lies in the unseen, in the part of you that cannot be taken, because it is built on law, on decision, on faith, on purpose. That is where true dominion is born. You are not falling apart. You are being repositioned for dominion. Repeat that aloud. Say it with certainty. I am not falling apart. I am being repositioned for dominion. Let this truth govern your mind from this day forward. Let it be the filter through which you interpret your pain, your setbacks, your delays. Because the moment you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin asking, what is this building within me? You become untouchable. Do you know what truly breaks a man? It is not failure. It is misinterpreting failure. It is believing that a no from life is a verdict, when in truth it is a redirection, a sacred detour, a divine correction to preserve your soul and position your steps. But only the man who listens will see it. Every successful man I have studied, Carnegie, Ford, Edison, Rockefeller, all of them were brought to their knees before they rose. All of them endured the furnace. Not one was handed power. They became power, and so must you. You must stop interpreting difficulty as rejection. You must begin to interpret it as preparation. You must stop blaming the world, blaming your past, blaming your delays, and take dominion over your inner world. Because until you do, the blessing will remain hidden from you. And it is hidden for a reason. God hides the blessing where only persistence and faith can find it. It is hidden because the man who will quit has no right to it. It is hidden because the man who complains has not yet earned it. It is hidden because the man who believes without proof, that is the man who will multiply it when it arrives. So listen now, not just with your ears, but with your decision. This is the hour where nothing working is your greatest gift. For now, your ears are open, your soul is searching, and if you listen, really listen, not casually, but as if your future depends on it, then everything will shift. This message has come to you now because you are ready, not ready for comfort, but ready for clarity, not ready for applause, but ready for action, not ready for a quick fix, but ready for the truth. And the truth is simple. You are being repositioned for power. Let us move forward. Let us go deeper. Let us face the next law with obedience, because now that you know the blessing is not denied, only delayed, you can walk through the fire with joy. You are not falling apart. You are rising. Part 2. The stripping. When life removes all that was never meant to stay. God cannot elevate what is still anchored to mediocrity, and yet most men, when they feel the ground shaking beneath them, beg for stability. They do not understand that what feels like collapse is not the end. It is the removal of everything they were never meant to carry into their next season of power. The blessing you asked for has weight, and a man cannot carry that weight while clinging to false identities, false comfort, and false relationships. So before he can rise, life will strip him, not gently, not slowly, but decisively. All that is unfit for the future must go. Do not curse the loss, thank it. That job you lost, it was too small. That relationship that ended, it was misaligned with destiny. That opportunity that vanished, it was not designed to hold the size of your calling. What's been stripped is not your purpose. It is your dependency on what could not carry it. Abraham Lincoln did not rise to the presidency by collecting comforts. He rose by surviving fires, loss after loss, death in his family, business failure, political humiliation. But each removal, each painful subtraction, stripped away what was non-essential, until only vision and resolve remained. The stripping is sacred, but it is misunderstood. You say, why is this being taken from me? And I say, because it never belonged to the man you are becoming. That which served your old self cannot sustain your new self. You prayed to rise, so now you must release. You cannot carry both greatness and clutter. You cannot build an empire with hands full of baggage. You must empty. You must surrender. And you must do it without bitterness. For bitterness blocks blessing. Resentment chains the soul to what is gone. And you cannot fly while tied to yesterday. Let it go. Let the loss purify you. Let the disappointment refine you. Let the stripping strip you down to truth. Because once all the noise is gone, once all the scaffolding falls, you will see what is real. And what is real is always enough to rebuild from. Because what is real is you. You were never meant to build on sand, but as long as you were comfortable, you would have stayed. So God moved, He removed, He reordered, not because He hated you, but because He heard you. You said, make me great. And He responded, then I must take what is not. This is not rejection. This is realignment. This is pruning. And every tree that bears fruit must be cut, not because it failed, but because it is being prepared to grow more. The blade that cuts the branch is the same blade that multiplies the harvest. Do you see it now? You are not being punished. You are being positioned. You are not being cursed. You are being cleansed. And what hurts now will serve you later. If and only if you stop resisting and start releasing. Let what falls, fall. Let what dies, die. Trust that what remains is exactly what you need. Men cry over what was never meant to stay. They mourn the loss of what was temporary. But the man of faith, the man of decision, moves forward. He rebuilds not from comfort, but from conviction. He does not beg for what left. He blesses it and builds anew. Repeat after me. Everything being removed from me is making space for the life I asked for. I release what no longer belongs. I receive what is coming. This is not the time to panic. This is the time to prepare. Prepare your mind. Prepare your spirit. Prepare your plan. Because the space left by loss is now sacred ground. And what you plant next must be definite. Not based on fear, but on vision. This is where most men fail. They beg for restoration without correction. They want back what was without asking. Was it ever aligned? But I tell you, nothing leaves your life that was meant to build your future. And what remains must now be refined into power. Examine your attachments. Examine your habits. Examine your thoughts. What are you holding on to that life is trying to strip? Are you clinging to mediocrity out of fear? Are you chasing comfort while claiming you desire greatness? You cannot have both. Choose now and choose boldly. The man who builds his future must be willing to be emptied of his past. Let that sink in, because until you become willing to walk into a new season naked of old patterns, you will keep repeating what no longer serves you over and over until the lesson is learned. And the lesson is this. The stripping is not loss. It is leverage. It is leverage to push you higher, to break your dependency on what was, to break your addiction to approval, to free you from weak structure, to make you whole before you become wealthy. Wealth is not money. Wealth is order. Wealth is alignment. And only a stripped man can receive it, because only a stripped man can hold it without being destroyed by it. So if you feel bare, bless it. If you feel undone, thank God, you are being made ready. Speak this again. I am not losing. I am being prepared. I release what's leaving. I trust what's coming. I am ready. This is not a setback. This is the rearrangement of everything that no longer fits. And once this process is complete, you will not need what was. You will be more than you were. And you will be ready to build what you could not build before. Part 3, the delay, when God withholds results to build your identity. Delay is not denial. Delay is the voice of God asking, will you still believe when there is no sign? Will you act in faith, not in proof? Most men fail not because of hardship, but because they cannot endure the wait. They expect harvest while still sowing. They demand results without proving readiness. Let me say clearly, you do not receive success according to time. You receive it according to readiness. You receive it according to identity. If the man you are today cannot handle the blessing you seek, infinite intelligence will withhold it, not out of cruelty, but mercy. The season of delay is not wasted time. It is spiritual construction. It is mental refinement. It is where your future is built, not outside, but within. You are becoming the man who can command results, the man who does not fold when the plan takes longer, the man who acts from definiteness, not doubt. I know this delay well. When I was writing Think and Grow Rich, I had no audience, no guarantee, no proof. I did not know if the words I poured onto the page would ever see light. But I was under command. The delay was my classroom. The silence was my sanctuary. I persisted and it came to pass. So too with you. If nothing is showing, keep sowing. If nothing is moving, keep believing. The law is working behind the veil. But the blessing does not come when the world believes in you. It comes when you believe without them. It comes when your faith no longer wavers at delay. Autosuggestion is your weapon in this hour. Repeat aloud your definite chief aim, morning and night, in silence and in doubt, in sorrow and in faith. You are not speaking to impress the world. You are speaking to instruct your subconscious mind. And once it believes, your world will follow. Every delay is a test of identity. Will you act like the man who expects success or the man who suspects failure? Will you move with confidence or wait for permission? You are not waiting for the world to say yes. You are waiting for your spirit to decide it is already done. Think of the farmer. He sows seed and does not dig it up every day to check its growth. He waters. He waits. He protects. He trusts the process of law. And in due season, it comes. But many of you dig up your seed every time delay knocks on the door, and so your harvest never roots. Do not confuse movement with momentum. God may stop the movement to increase your mental momentum, and that momentum, once complete, will break open the doors, not because you chased them, but because you became the man who could walk through them without shrinking. Repeat after me. I outlast time, I persist in delay, I trust the law, my reward is certain. Delay is not your enemy. Delay is your invitation to deeper obedience, to deeper belief, to mental mastery, to becoming one with your purpose, even when the outer world is still catching up to your inner man. If success came at your first attempt, it would be wasted. You would not value it. You would not know how to protect it. But delay builds the fortress around your purpose. It trains your eyes to see beyond results. It builds the man who can hold power without losing his principles. Every minute you spend waiting is a minute to refine your plan. Every hour of silence is an hour to fortify your vision. Every unanswered prayer is a chance to deepen your decision. God withholds to strengthen. He delays to harden your character. He hides the blessing to see if you will become worthy of it. So I ask you now, not how long have you waited, but who have you become while waiting? Have you drifted, or have you decided? Have you feared, or have you forged forward? Because the man who wins is not the man with the shortest path. It is the man who became unshakable on the longest one. All the men I studied, Ford, Carnegie, Edison, they were made in the invisible season. They were formed while no one clapped, no one supported, no one believed. And when their moment came, they were not surprised. They were ready. And so shall you be. Let the delay do its work. Let it expose your fears so you may crush them. Let it test your voice so you may command it. Let it challenge your pace so you may walk in discipline, not desperation. Because when the blessing comes, and it will, you will not wonder if it's real. You will recognize it. Repeat again with me. Delay is not denial. It is my preparation. It is my refining. I do not fear the wait. I master it. Everything will shift. But it will not shift until you do. Not until you are governed not by time, but by law. Not until you are no longer asking when, but saying, now is my season of obedience. That is the man who inherits his vision. That is the man who outlasts delay and walks in dominion. Part 4, the silence. Why heaven stops speaking before it delivers. There is a point in every journey where the heavens go silent. No answers, no signs, no confirmation. The voices that once cheered you vanish. The inspiration that once filled you dries up. The road ahead goes dim, and now you ask, where is the voice that once called me? But the silence is not a sign of abandonment, it is a test of alignment. God does not speak to those who depend on noise. He does not bless the man who must be spoon-fed assurance. Silence is the final classroom before the breakthrough. And only the man who can keep moving without the sound of applause is ready for influence. For a man must be governed by principle, not sensation. I learned this when writing Think and Grow Rich. There were months where the words would not come, days where the voice within went quiet. No recognition, no income, no signal that it mattered. But I had made a decision, and that decision did not need comfort. It needed commitment. So it is with you. The silence has come, not to scare you, but to separate you from the world's grip. In the silence, distractions fall away. The need for permission dies. The craving for encouragement is exposed. And now you are left alone with your thoughts. And your thoughts, if governed by law, will guide you through. Henry Ford was not applauded before he succeeded. He was ridiculed. He was dismissed. He worked in silence. He believed without being believed in. He designed without knowing when or if the world would catch up. That is the man who succeeds, the man who obeys the voice within even when it goes quiet. You must stop waiting for confirmation. Stop waiting for signs. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. If infinite intelligence gave you a vision, it is now your turn to act, even in silence, even in doubt, even when every outer indicator says quit, because that is the moment the inner man is either crowned or crushed. This is the hour where your subconscious mind is tested. Do you only move when prompted, or have you built the internal command center that acts by decision? Most men never do. They live by reaction. But you are not most men. You are being trained to walk by definiteness. You are not in a dead zone, you are in a divine zone. The silence is where God watches, not to see if you hear, but to see if you will walk by what you already know. This is the season where you prove that you are no longer a child of motivation, but a man of mastery. Repeat aloud with me, I no longer wait for a voice. I am the voice. I obey the law. I move in silence, and I do not stop. Do not be fooled. Most quit in silence. They mistake silence for rejection. They turn back not because they were defeated, but because they mistook stillness for death. But the seed does not sprout in noise. It germinates quietly below the surface. The work that matters most is always done in the dark. This silence is sharpening your ability to hear within. You are learning to trust yourself, to listen to the echo of your own affirmation, to walk with your definite chief aim held firm in your spirit. Because once you become obedient in silence, you will never again be ruled by the noise of the crowd. This is why I teach autosuggestion. Because in silence, your voice must become the voice. No outside influence can shape your direction. You must take the wheel of thought. Declare what is real, even when no man agrees. Repeat the aim. Repeat the law. Repeat the belief until you believe it more than the world doubts it. You are not being ignored. You are being forged. And you must be forged in silence if you are to lead in clarity. Because the man who hears clearly in silence will never be shaken by the voices of fear, of doubt, of mockery. He will walk into any room and remain governed by purpose. This silence is your fire. It is your final proving ground. You must wake up and act without applause. You must write without response. You must plan without recognition. You must keep walking until heaven breaks its silence and confirms what you already knew. But know this, heaven never confirms until you obey. It does not reward hesitation. It rewards faith in motion. And faith must be proven. Not when it feels good, but when it feels like nothing is there at all. That is when you must stand. That is when your words become law. Repeat again with me. I do not wait to be affirmed. I walk by internal authority. I am obedient in silence, and I am trusted with success. The crowd will only follow the man who no longer needs it. The riches will only come to the man who no longer chases them. And the voice of heaven will only speak again to the man who obeyed while it was silent. You are that man now, or you are becoming him. Do not retreat. Do not retreat into fear. Do not drift back to old voices. Sit in the silence and rule over it. Make your daily commands. Keep your schedule. Hold your posture. Speak your aim aloud morning and night, until the silence breaks. Not because you begged, but because you became. What you are building now is a structure no storm can shake, a mind no crowd can sway, a faith that is fireproof, and once the silence breaks, the reward will come like a flood. But by then, you will no longer need it, because you will have become the man who could have built without it. Part 5, the breaking, why you must be emptied to be empowered. Before the breakthrough comes the breaking. Always. No exceptions, no shortcuts. No man has ever been trusted with lasting success until life first broke him open, stripped him, emptied him, pressed him into the ground, so that the seed of power could take root where pride once lived. The breaking does not come to destroy. It comes to reveal. To reveal what was weak, what was false, what was still built on fear and emotion. To pull down what was never built to last. The breaking is not the end of you. It is the beginning of the real you, the version who cannot be shaken. The ego must break before the spirit can rise. The false identity must shatter before the truth can rule. The dreams built on pride must collapse before the vision forged in faith can stand. And so, if you are being broken, do not resist it. Rejoice in it, for it is the mark of divine favor. Charles Schwab faced this. They told him steel was dead. They told him the industry was finished. But what they didn't see was the inner furnace that had been burning for years. The mockery only revealed his resolve. The failure refined his plan. And from the ashes, he built Bethlehem Steel, an empire. There is power in being shattered if you refuse to stay broken. Because once your illusion is gone, your indestructibility is born. What remains after the breaking is pure. It cannot be bought. It cannot be shaken by delay, loss, or fear. It is the part of you that knows who you are and moves accordingly. And this is the test. Will you allow the breaking to birth a new man, or will you mourn the loss of the old shell? Most cry to rebuild what was. Few see the gift of becoming what must now be. You cannot go back. There is nothing for you there. Let the old self die. Bury him, bless him, and build again. Repeat aloud with me. This breaking is not the end of me. It is the beginning of the real me. The man who is broken but obedient becomes the man who is invincible. Because he no longer needs to prove, to perform, to be praised. He is not moved by outcomes. He is moved by obedience. And obedience is the master key that unlocks all doors, seen and unseen. Look at the caterpillar. It must dissolve to become a butterfly, not rearranged, not repainted, dissolved, broken down into fluid, formless substance, so it may rise into flight. And so too must you let yourself die to what was. If you resist the breaking, you resist the blessing. This is where you learn the deepest law, identity before increase. You must become before you receive, and who you were cannot carry what you asked for. So the old must fall, the skin must shed, the identity must be upgraded by fire, not by comfort. Let it break. Let it all fall down. Do not patch what is crumbling. Do not pray for restoration of what was never aligned. The breaking is the only way God can build something divine. What breaks was not built on law. What remains will be built on truth. You must rebuild, not in haste, but in order, not for applause, but for alignment, not in fear, but in faith. The breaking is sacred. It has no timeline. It has no shortcuts. It has only one goal, to birth the man you were designed to be, a man of decision, a man of fire, a man of lawful power. Let us say it again. The breaking is not my end. It is my elevation. I rise through the ashes. I am built by fire. And once you understand this, you will no longer fear collapse. You will no longer panic in loss. You will no longer tremble in the face of delay, because now you know nothing real can be destroyed, and everything false must fall. You will stop crying over things you were never meant to carry. You will stop begging for old blessings to return. You will stand, broken, yes, but whole, because your strength is no longer in your outer form. It is in your inner alignment, and that can never be taken. This is why I tell you, blessed is the man who has been broken and did not bow, the man who was stripped and still stood, the man who wept and still worked. That is the man who cannot be moved. That is the man God trusts with dominion. So let it break, let it strip, let it collapse, and then rebuild, not with the old tools, but with new structure, with your definite chief aim in hand, with your belief declared morning and night, with every step governed by principle, not pressure. The man who builds after breaking builds with stone, not sand. He does not rely on praise. He does not chase speed. He does not plead for comfort. He creates order, and order brings increase, and increase brings dominion, and that dominion is waiting on the other side of this breaking. Part 6, the mirror, the season where everything tests you from within. There is a season when the enemy is no longer the world outside, but the world within. A season where everything around you reflects the disordered fragments of your thinking. You try to act, and life resists you. You speak, and your own words fall flat. You plan, and the ground moves beneath your feet. This is the mirror season. It is not the world testing you, it is you testing yourself. The law of attraction, the law of cosmic habit force, the law of growth, they do not reward appearances. They reward substance. And when what you believe within is not aligned with what you demand without, life will reflect the chaos until you correct it. Andrew Carnegie was mocked when he took risks the world could not comprehend. But he saw what they could not. His mind was governed, ordered, definite. The mockery only tested his inner image. And he passed because his identity was not on trial. His belief was already settled. You must come to this same settlement. You must face the mirror, not as an enemy, but as a teacher. What you see in your outer world is always a reflection of the beliefs, fears, doubts, and disciplines you have or lack. If the mirror is cracked, fix the man, not the frame. This is not emotional advice. It is spiritual law. Life obeys your identity. You attract not what you want, but what you are. And who you are is not what you say. You are what you repeat, what you allow in thought, what you affirm or fail to affirm, what you tolerate in the silence of your own mind. This is the hour where you must take dominion over your thoughts. Not one of them may be left idle. Not one may drift ungoverned. Thought is the cause of all that is. Thought is the builder. And until you master your inner language, your outer world will obey confusion. You must build from within what you want to live without. You must speak the vision aloud, not when it appears, but before it does. You must repeat your definite chief aim, not because you hope, but because you know. Because every cell of your body is being trained to believe before it sees. Say this with me. What I see outside is the result of what I believe inside. I now speak power, discipline, and dominion over my mind. Do not curse the delay. Do not resist the mirror. The world is not against you. It is showing you exactly where you still drift, still fear, still doubt. But the moment you bring law to your inner world, Your outer world must submit. That is not opinion. That is universal truth. Repetition is your friend. Discipline is your weapon. You must structure your morning with exact words. You must prepare your nights with silent command. You must think on purpose, speak on purpose, move with purpose, until the man in the mirror reflects who you really are, not who you used to be. This is why the world resists the drifting man. He is not sure. He is not settled. He says one thing and believes another. He moves one day and collapses the next. And so the law does not respond. The door does not open. The results do not arrive. Because the mirror cannot lie. Your habits are not random. They are the fruit of your identity. Your results are not accidental. They are the report card of your thought. And every single day you repeat the same patterns. The law reads your soul and sends you what you believe you deserve. You must now decide to be reborn by discipline, by internal command. The outer world is too slow to keep up. The inner world must lead. And once your inner world is fixed, you can walk into chaos and bring it to order. That is dominion. That is spiritual manhood. You are not fighting the world, you are facing yourself. The battle is not against lack. It is against laziness in thought. The war is not with failure, it is with fear. And if you win here, in the quiet, in the mirror, no outer force can overthrow what is settled in law. Say it again with me. The war is within, and I have decided to win. I no longer fear the mirror, I govern it. I command it, and it reflects my victory. From this day forward, the mirror is not your enemy. It is your measurement. It is your instructor. And every day you see lack, let it point to what must be rebuilt inside. Every day you see delay, let it point to where belief still wavers. Every day you see struggle, let it train you in mental obedience. There is no success without this. All the giants of history, Ford, Edison, Lincoln, Schwab, Carnegie, they were all tested by reflection. All forced to see themselves before they could lead others. All forged in the fire of internal confusion until clarity was built with discipline. You do not have a money problem. You do not have a support problem. You have a belief problem. Fix the belief and everything else bows. Fix the identity and everything else moves. Because once the man is definite, the world must obey. Part 7. The choice. You must decide without emotion, only principle. The man who only acts when he feels like it will never be free. He is a slave to emotion. He is governed by impulse. He is like a leaf blown in the wind, tossed by circumstance, governed by the day, owned by what he calls mood. But success, real success, does not belong to the emotional man. It belongs to the decisive man. You must stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting to feel inspired. Stop waiting to feel confident. All of that is emotion, and emotion is a terrible master. You must become a man who chooses by law, not by feeling. Principle must be your governor. Decision must be your compass. Faith must be your engine. If your habits are based on how you feel, you are not free. You are a puppet. You say you want success, but you check how you feel before acting. And so your life reflects hesitation, delay, and disorder, because law rewards obedience, not emotional drama. Woodrow Wilson, during the darkest days of war, could not afford to wait for motivation. He acted from duty, from inner structure, from definite belief. He rose not on the winds of applause, but on the strength of a decision. That is what leadership is. That is what greatness demands. Emotion will scream, quit. Emotion will whisper, wait. Emotion will weep for sympathy. But law does not care. Law rewards the man who acts regardless. The man who wakes up and does what must be done because it is right, not because it is easy. You must govern yourself. You must become your own authority. You must build a mental government inside yourself, one that issues orders and one that obeys. The conscious mind commands. The subconscious receives. But if no one is giving orders, the chaos continues. And what is the first order? Decision. Not half decision, not conditional action, but full, final, committed decision. When you decide, life rearranges itself to honor that decision. Doors open, energy flows. But if you wait to feel certain, you will wait forever. Repeat aloud with me. I no longer act based on emotion. I decide, I obey, I follow through, and results obey me. Do not trust your feelings. Trust your principles. Wake up each day with one question. What is required? Not what is easy, not what feels good, but what is necessary. What brings me closer to the vision I claimed in my definite chief aim? The man who chooses once and obeys that choice for life, that is the man who is trusted with success. Because infinite intelligence cannot bless the man who still wavers. The universe withholds from the double-minded. It opens to the decided. And how do you decide? You begin by refusing to negotiate. You stop explaining your plan to people who have not earned the right to hear it. You stop excusing your inconsistency. You stop pretending the delay is external. The delay is always internal. Decision is the gatekeeper. Without it, there is no persistence. Without it, there is no plan. Without it, there is no faith. All the principles depend on one thing, you choosing and acting as if it is already done. Most men act as if they are waiting for something to convince them, but you must act as if the outcome is already settled. That is how you accelerate time. That is how you multiply progress. That is how you separate from the masses and walk into dominion. Say this again. I am not led by how I feel. I am led by what I have decided, and I obey my decision until it produces fruit. You are not allowed to quit. You are not allowed to pause your growth because of fear, tiredness, or laziness. Once you decide, you burn the bridge behind you. You silence the exit door. You walk forward as if you cannot fail, because failure is not possible when decision is backed by law. Your emotions will come and go. Some days you will feel powerful. Some days you will feel empty. That does not matter, because the decision does not change. It remains fixed. And the man who builds his life around fixed decisions creates a fixed destiny. Write your aim. Declare it. Build habits that reflect it. And never ask your emotions for permission. The man you admire, the one who appears unstoppable, is simply the man who refused to renegotiate with himself. Do not say, I'll try. Say, it is done. Do not say, if I feel better. Say, even if I feel nothing, I will do what is required. This is how you become the man who can command results. This is how you become trusted with influence. Final declaration. I act without hesitation. I obey the voice of law within. My feelings serve me, but they do not rule me. I command results through daily action. And now, having decided, you must act. You must act as a man who no longer seeks validation, who no longer pauses for applause, who no longer consults fear before moving forward. You are the man who moves by inner law, and life obeys the man who walks by principle. Part 8. The shift. Everything changes the moment you become immovable. The moment you become fixed, the world must bend. The moment your mind is set in faith and your decisions are locked in principle, life no longer resists you. It obeys you. Because the law does not yield to hesitation. It yields to the man who is unmovable in belief and unbreakable in obedience. You are no longer a seeker. You are no longer waiting for signs, proof, or emotion. You are no longer asking questions that weaken your vision. Now you command. Now you declare. Now you stand as the man you were destined to be, not because it is easy, but because you finally decided to become. This is the shift, the point where nothing external needs to change, because you have changed. You no longer beg for the door to open. You know it is opening. You no longer wonder if you're worthy. You know you are, not because someone told you, but because you stood in the fire and did not break. John D. Rockefeller worked in obscurity long before the world knew his name, but he walked to work each day like a man already trusted with empire. He lived beneath his means. He studied. He saved. He decided. He moved by principle, and when the moment came, he was already the man who could carry it. You are not waiting for a better season. You are now building one. You are not hoping for answers. You are the answer. The outer world is simply catching up to the inner man who has already crossed the finish line. This is the hour where you stop chasing and start claiming. Repeat this aloud. I am the man infinite intelligence has prepared. I do not drift. I do not fear. I command my life. There is no permission needed now. There is no more consultation with fear, with failure, with weakness. You have crossed the line. You are now unshakable, not because nothing touches you, but because nothing moves you from your foundation. You are no longer begging the soil to bear fruit. You are tilling it with discipline, planting with faith, speaking life over every seed. You understand the delay. You welcome the silence. You bless the breaking, because now you see them all for what they are. Evidence that you were chosen. You are not uncertain. You are unavailable to doubt. You are not slow. You are measured. You are not hoping. You are commanding. And what you command is not born of arrogance. It is born of alignment. Alignment with the law. Alignment with your definite chief aim. Alignment with divine order. Your definite chief aim must now be your law. Post it on your wall. Read it aloud morning and night. Let it govern your thinking. Let it burn away distraction. Let it shape your habits, your schedule, your identity, because the man who moves with a chief aim becomes a magnet for miracles. From this day forward, there is no return. The man you were is gone. The excuses are gone. The delays are over. You are unavailable to drift. You are unavailable to the old life. You are available only to obedience, to growth, to dominion. Say this with me again. I am fixed in identity. I am disciplined in thought. I am the man the law rewards. I command and life responds. You are now dangerous to fear, dangerous to doubt, dangerous to failure, because you are no longer moved by what the world says. You are moved only by what you have decided. And when a man becomes fully decided, the world must rearrange itself around him. Everything will shift now, because you have shifted. And the man who has shifted no longer asks, will it work? He says, it already is working. Because I am working, because I am governed, because I am built in law and I do not move. This is the new beginning, the one born not of desperation but of decision, not of reaction but of dominion. You do not owe the old version of you any apology. You do not owe your critics any explanation. You owe your vision completion, and you owe your God obedience. And now, you deliver, not when you feel like it, not when it is convenient, but daily, decidedly, until it is done, until it is multiplied, until you become the man you once only dreamed of, and then more. Final declaration. I am no longer the man who waits. I am the man who commands. I do not drift. I do not fear. I rise now. I rise in law. I rise in faith. I rise in dominion.